And tonight, I think we're all honored to have my friend.
Thank you.
What was it again? Come on, Mehdi.
Eddie Lopez. Hi, everybody. I'm Mehdi, alcoholic. And welcome. I'm really glad you two are here because I was given a secret in the beginning. I told my sponsor, I'm really worried about, I got to give a talk. And he goes, don't worry about it. Nobody's listening anyway. So, but I know you two are. So grateful to be here. Thank you for the introduction. I didn't mean to be a speaker. I just went to my homeland of Iran in 2003. I hadn't gone there in 25 years. I was born and raised in Iran. I came to this country in 1975, and I got my green card in 1979, and immigration realized that they had made a huge mistake. And they said they wanted it back by the year 82 because I had racked up some convictions. And their exact words was, we have enough thieves, we don't need you. So I was wrapped up with that situation till the year 2002. And one of the guys in AA helped me, and he made a phone call at 12:30 on a Monday. And by Thursday morning, 9 o'clock, I had my citizenship. And that following year, I went to my homeland of Iran. I don't do speaking, I do workshops. I do 12-step workshops. I was one of those guys, Keith remembers, in the beginning, when they asked me to talk, I'd sweat and perspire like a like a faucet, you know, and my accent would get a lot thicker than it is, and now you can't shut me up, you know? So I do workshops and I stand on my feet 5, 6, 7 hours a day trying to break down the steps for the newcomers. Because it's a bit, it's deceiving. You know, you hear stuff like, if you have problem with alcohol, welcome to Alcoholics Anonymous. But alcohol was my solution. It was not a problem. The problem lies within. I am, by nature, I'm restless, irritable, and discontented. By nature, I don't measure up. By nature, I'm lonely, desolate. I'm full of fears and insecurities, and I don't know where the hell they come from. And this, what I'm explaining to you guys, I've experienced this since I was 5, 6 years, 7 years old. You know, it has nothing to do with alcohol. And then by the time I was 14, I discovered alcohol. My first drink was a Russian vodka. And I remember it vividly, just like it was yesterday. I was with a bunch of guys, they were all tattooed up, and tattoo back in those days, they were not fashionable, okay? The only people who had tats were people who had been to the joint. So they all had tats except for me. And I was 14 and I didn't have a hair on my butt. And I was scared, seriously. I was seriously scared, like, what do they intend to do with me? And they poured me a big old cup and they had some food. We didn't have like Tequila Sunrise or Manhattan, none of that crap. We had booze, and if you were a sissy, you chased it with the Pepsi or something. But if you tried to be a badass, you didn't even take that. And they poured me a big old cup, and I drank it, and within a few minutes, I realized, oh, Jesus Christ, the treatment for my alcoholism. Within 5 minutes after drinking that cup of vodka, I became the badass in that crowd. And I kept looking at them and saying, does anybody, you got problem with anybody? Let's go. And they're looking at me like, shut up, kid, just sit down and drink your shit. And I love the effect produced by alcohol. I love the effect. And I'm willing to sell just about anything to get the effect, including my own child, if it comes to it. I'm also a heroin addict. I always put that in my talk. I know of people who have literally changed their life story in order to fit AA. I think that's basically lying. I'm a heroin addict. I don't talk about shooting dope from this podium out of the respect for singleness of purpose for Alcoholics Anonymous. But if I tell you I was a millionaire and a year later I was homeless, you're going to scratch your head and say, what the heck is he talking about? What did he drink? I was shooting up about $10,000 a day worth of heroin a day, okay? Tim talked about being a drug salesman or drug dealer. When I first came to this country, I was 22 years of age. I really think a part of alcoholism is we also have problem with our own identity. We have identity problem. We all do. That's why we're constantly looking to get something to put next to our name to make me a little bigger than what I already am. If I'm a little richer than you, I'm better than you. If I have a bigger car or a nicer home or a prettier wife or a bigger ring or whatever, anything but just Mehdi by himself naked, which is totally wrong because my true identity is this, and so is yours, that you're a piece of God. You are a piece of God. It doesn't get any bigger and better than that. Regardless of what you drive, regardless of where you live, regardless of how much money you have in your bank account, you are a piece of God. And don't let anybody tell you otherwise, okay? So when I got to the airport, one of my buddies, I was raised in the hood, we were really, really poor, showed up at the airport and he said, man, I'm not gonna see you again. And he handed me something like this iPhone 16. It was hashish. And he said, man, I wish you a safe journey. And I got on the airplane. There was a stop in England, London. We didn't get off the airplane. They gassed up, and then they to JFK, New York. I went right through the customs. No problem. I went to Sacramento, and I thought, wow, this is easy. So I went back, and my father had just came back from Mecca. You know, Muslims go to the pilgrimage to become Haji, and he had brought me a boombox from Mecca, from Saudi Arabia. And I looked at it and I said, wow, what a beautiful radio. I took the engine out, the motor out, and I shoved about 2 kilograms of hashish, and I put it in my suitcase, and I came right through again, and I started selling it, and I figured, but this is easy. So I went back, and I stayed there for 4 months. I worked for an American company doing pipelines, and I saved up some money. I smuggled 18 kilograms, almost 40 pounds of hashish. I married this Mexican lady whom I have a son with, who just became a doctor about a month ago. These are stories that you can't make up. This is all AA, and I want you to know that. This is all God. I want you to know that. It has nothing to do with me and my intelligence. You leave this shit up to me, I'm gonna screw it up really, really fast. It's all this magnificent force of power that we call God. And at the night of my wedding, people were smoking hashish and drinking tequila. And I get a call when I get back from my honeymoon. It's a Mexican guy, one of the family members. I married into a Mexican family, and he said, I want you to come by my house tomorrow. I said, okay, so he gave me the address. I went there, this is 1978. He had cameras then at his house and a few huge dogs, and I thought, what the heck? So he goes, what was that shit you guys were smoking? I said, hashish. He goes, can you get heroin? I said, yeah. I had a kilo in my house. I was also a heroin addict. So he says, give me a little sample. I said, okay. I give him a sample, and he goes, you want to sell? I said, sure. So to make a long story short, within a year, I became a millionaire. This guy was high up with the Mexican mafia. I was not a drug smuggler. I didn't know nothing about smuggling. I didn't know anything about. I look back now, like, wow, how he protected me from even mafia. And I had no idea whom I was dealing with. I was a stupid kid from Iran. I didn't speak 10 words of English, you know? He remembers in the beginning that I had a hard time putting a sentence together, you know? And anyhow, I became a millionaire. By the time I was 27, I was a millionaire. And I'm telling you, all of you sitting here right now are thinking that if I had more money, I'll have a much, much better life, much more fuller life. And I can pray more, and I can be with God more. And my experience, it was totally the opposite. It was totally the opposite. I had power, I had money because I was dealing with him. A couple of people ticked me off, and I asked them to teach them a lesson, and they were taught a lesson right away, so I knew I had them in my back pocket because they needed what I had. And but in here was empty, it was desolate. And the desolation of alcoholism becomes a lot more acute when you have everything at your fingertips, and yet you don't have the very essence that is truly necessary for us to be, especially if you're an alcoholic. Especially if you're an alcoholic. If you read the book, if you read this book here, I don't see the book. Yeah, there's one here. I got a few at home. Yeah, it says when you work the steps, you're rocketed into a fourth dimension of existence. And fourth dimension of existence is going into a place where you and God are becoming one. So this whole thing becomes about creating a sense of oneness with God. When Tim mentioned God, I don't want you to get scared and run out of here thinking that, oh shit, what's next? You know, what are they going to dunk me in the water or what? And it's not about that. It's about establishing, creating a sense of relationship with this magnificent force. Because otherwise, you're going to be restless, irritable, discontented, and we see all kinds of them running around Alcoholics Anonymous. Angry, resentful, they don't have a sense of God in their lives. They're not drinking, but I'm sure their family members are praying to God for them to take a drink because they need to treat this somehow. Either drink or have the substitute, which is the presence of God. Because without it, I'm screwed, you know? The vision for you, the vision for you, it says for most normal folks, which doesn't mean you and I, normal folks, drinking means conviviality, companionship, colorful imagination. It means release from care, boredom, and worry. We drink for the same reason, except for my body has a different condition than theirs. They drink, alcohol does something to them. Alcohol does something for me. It takes away my emptiness. It takes away my desolation. It takes away my fears and my insecurities. They drink for the same reason. They get to that line of ease and comfort, they stop. They're good. You see them in parties, you know. I mean, I've been to lunch with some architects. They order a glass of wine, you know, and they have a little sip and they put it down and They have another sip and they put it down and you're sitting there, you're just chewing your nails like, drink the damn thing. You know, the alcohol is evaporating, it's alcohol abuse, you know? I mean, enough is enough. But they don't have that sense of urgency with their body like mine does and yours does. I take a drink of alcohol, my body immediately craves for more and more and more, and I cannot stop. I cannot stop. I'm the guy who left that same wife and that same child who just became a doctor a month ago. She handed me a $20 bill. She goes, Anthony doesn't have any diaper. This is back in 1978. You could do that with $20. Get a small thing of diaper, get him some milk, and get you and I a little thing of hamburger meat so I can make us a couple of hamburger patties. I get to my car, and the closer I get to the stop sign, the louder this voice becomes. And the voice is convincing me. And I share this with you just in case if you've lost your husband, your kids, I want you to relate. Okay? So I get to the stop sign and going right is to the Korean market that had all of that, and you could come home with some change, and going left was to go get my shit. And of course, I went left, and I came home a couple hours later, and I had to stop in some alleyway and lay in the dirt, and like I got beat up. I said, what happened? Oh, a couple of Mexicans jumped on me and took away my $20, and the embarrassment you feel, and the shame and the guilt and the remorse you feel on the inside. Like, how could you, son? Your own blood is sitting there hungry, crying. This little kid is crying. But I don't have what it takes to say no. And Tim said it. The main problem, even though it seems like the problem is in my body, but Bill Wilson has said in the chapter, A Vision for You, the main problem of the alcoholic centers in his mind rather than in his body. And the reason he says that is because of the obsession. The obsession that once I take a drink of alcohol, all bets are off. This thing, all it ever thinks about is, when do we start? Are we going to start before breakfast, after breakfast? Are you going to have your eggs over easy, over medium, boiled, whatever? Anything to just convince me that it's time to go ahead and get it started. So it's this thing that when you hear people say, I'm grateful that God has taken away, has given me the gift. And by the way, the gift was given to me. I didn't raise my hand because I don't feel like I've done anything except for suit up and show up. And it's July 7th of this year, I have 39 years. I turned 39. It's not me. I have suit up and showed up. That's all. And these guys have held my hands like a little baby and taken me to places and showed me what to do. You know, just, hey, get in the car, kid. We're going places. And they took me to detox and prisons and jails and showed me what to do in order to stay sober and to go across the line and to be a part of that people who live in the fourth dimension of existence. Okay? So the whole 12 steps of AA becomes about you getting to know you. Now, people say, but self-knowledge doesn't keep you sober. No, but getting to know God and getting to know you will keep you sober by doing everything else that comes with the package of Alcoholics Anonymous. And if God is a piece of me, if God lives within me, if God is in my heart, if I am a piece of God, which we are, and so are you, I need to know what it is. And every religion says the same thing, that God has created human being of his own image, okay? So if I'm an image of God, I want to know what God is about, okay? And in order to find that out, I'm going to find out what I'm about, what makes me tick, okay? What makes me angry, what makes me full of ego and pride. You know, I was sharing something with my buddy Rudy coming up here about somebody said something derogatory to me a couple of nights ago, and I got really like, oh, I'm gonna show him how he needs to talk to me the next time, and I thought about it, and I'm like, you know, that's the best he can do. That is the best he can. That's the best he knows how to do. Okay, talk to people with disrespect, because he's never been taught anything else. So, like your guys' hero, I'm sure it's probably going to church, Jesus, take the high road and just keep quiet and walk away from the controversy and just eat it like you eat everything else and don't worry about it. Okay? So this whole thing becomes about me getting to know me, which I already talked about, my soul, which is empty, desolate, lonely, full of fears and insecurities. My body has that condition, and my mind is the obsession to drink. Okay, and if I'm gonna stay sober, if I'm gonna be happy, joyous, and free, I have to have the presence of God in my life. It's undebatable, undeniable. You can't deny this. You can't debate this. You have to have. I don't know. I swear to you, I've seen people who are atheists. I don't know how they do it. I want to kiss their hand. They're my heroes. I don't know how they. I was teaching at the Thai Club. I've had a book study there for over 30 years, and I was. I swear to God, I was sitting at my desk and teaching step 6 and 7, and I get on the roll with step 6 and 7, and I constantly talk about God. I become like a priest, and I start preaching, and I noticed this here was burning. And I looked to the side, and there was a guy, and he was pissed. He was pissed off. And he raised his hand. I'm sober 33 years, and I don't believe in God. And I'm like, well, good for you. Thank you, but I don't want what you have, though. You know, I don't know how they do it. I don't know what their awakening is about. If they don't have God, what is the spiritual awakening is? I'm just dying to know that, you know? But if you want to feel comfortable, if you want to go through life with respect and dignity and honor, because life is going to deal you different hands. It's not going to be all roses and peachy and beautiful everything every day. You're going to meet some good-looking guy who is going to sweep you off your feet and take you places and take you to Utah and do this and do that. And 6 months later, you're at a meeting saying the bastard, it was all a show. It was all rehearsing for the next girl. And, you know, I know because I've done it, you know. That's why we need it. That's why we need to have the presence of God. The bankruptcy came to me in the year 2000. I'm a contractor. Like Keith said, I started as a taper in business, and a year later I started my own business. And within a few years, 7 years, I had a few hundred guys on my payroll, and I started getting jobs on the Strip, and they built a casino, Venetian, and he screwed 84 contractors, and I happened to be one of them. And he screwed me for $2.8 million, and my whole livelihood was slipping through my hands, and I had to go through that. And I walked through it with honor and dignity. And my prayer every night was, God, please, he knows, people who've known me, they know I have a good name in town. I'm not known to have violated any girls in AA. I'm known to have not violated anybody financially. Physically, I'm just a quiet guy, go about my business, do my thing, and do my service, and I sponsor numerous people. It's 3 or 4 digit numbers I have because of my travels all over the world, and I'm not bragging. I'm one of those guys. There are different classification of alcoholism. Okay. Some people have the ability to go to a meeting or 2 a week and be happy, joyous, and free, and sponsor 1 or 2 guys. I'm not one of them. I need to have a shitload of people around me constantly. You know, I have to have numerous responses. I have to hear fourth steps and fifth steps. And this morning I was on the phone with a girl in Iran, 37 years of age, beautiful girl. And oh, I'm gonna go drink. And why? What happened? And oh, my father fell down and broke his head. And anyhow, talking to her for a couple of hours. And I have to be on my toes the whole time, because my degree of alcoholism is way up there, way up there. I need people like you in my life all the time, that's why I was so glad to see you guys raise your hand and introduce yourself as newcomers, so I can direct my talk to you guys, you know? So we need to have the presence of God in our lives, but how do we find them? And I think the greatest miracle in our lives is our own creation, human creation. Just imagine that 73 years ago, I was just an embryo. I was an embryo the size of a head of a needle, okay? That swam through my mother's womb, and after a few days, it became a heartbeat, and amongst millions of other embryos, I don't know why, but there was something in that embryo. There's a piece of divine inside that embryo. There's spirit inside that embryo, okay? And after a few days, that embryo becomes the heartbeat. That's why I said you're a piece of God. And eventually, you start forming up, and 2 hands and 2 legs and 2 eyes and a mouth and a nose and 2 ears, and there you are, as handsome and as pretty as you guys, you know, and you become a human being. And the funny thing, I was at a meeting today, and I was talking about that. Why is it that we come from wholeness, but yet, after 7, 8 years of age, we start experiencing emptiness? If I come from wholeness, then what makes me feel so empty? If I'm a part of this magnificent force, why do I feel so lonely and desolate? And you hear this all the time. I'm so lonely, I don't have any friends. And I tell people, man, you don't know how lucky you are if you're lonely, if you're by yourself. Dave and I have lived together for the past 4 years. He had a heart surgery, okay? I told him to come and stay with me, I'll take care of him. I thought it was gonna be a month or 2. That was 4 years ago. He sold his house, he just moved in with me. Anyhow, and right now my grandkids are there. I have 4 grandkids, 17, 18, 5 and 8. And by the time they leave, I'm grateful to God that they left. Not that I stopped loving them, because again, I'm gonna go back to hooking up with this magnificent force, okay? So how is it that we start experiencing emptiness and desolation if I'm a part of this magnificent force? You know, and I thought about this. I meditate quite a bit. We meditate, Dave and I, we meditate most days, at least an hour, sometimes 2. I have to have my morning meditation every day, at least an hour. Some mornings, hour and a half, and some nights, hour to hour and a half. I have to have that to hook up. And it's so sweet. It is so sweet. I'm telling you. And by the way, we do it a couple of times a week in my home as a group. And I always share with people if anybody would like to come. I'm not a guru by any means. I'm not a master in meditation. I'm just a student. But I'll share with you what I know, and I'll share with you how I feel, and how I feel and what I go through every day. If it wasn't for what I do, it'd be a hard life to go through that. And it would be a hard life when on January 21st of 2021, my phone rang at 9:30 at night, and it was my son, the guy who just graduated from USC, saying that Ryan, my sobriety baby, who was 28 at the time, he came to my house that day about 1 o'clock, and he said, Dad, why don't we watch a couple of Leslie Nelson movies, the Naked Gun 33 and a half, the stupid movies, we love stupid. I said, sure, so we watched a couple of movies, and we had a good laugh, and he left, and he called me at 7, and I was on the phone with Iran, so I didn't take his call. I figured I'd just call him in the morning that night he died. He died some bizarre accident. And if you don't have God in your life, and when I left my house, one of the secrets to remain in one with God is to remain grateful all the time, to be thankful all the time, regardless of what the situation might be. Going through my bankruptcy, it was every day, every night. All I ask you is to please maintain my dignity in town, maintain my name. But thank you. Thank you for everything you've given me. Thank you for everything you've taken away from me. Thank you for everything you've left me. And even when Ryan died, and Ryan was extremely handsome, he didn't look nothing like me or his mom or his uncles, his mother's family, my family. He looked like something like Brad Pitt. He was that handsome. He was really handsome. And when I was just numb. Like when you go to the dentist and they give you a shot, I was numb. I couldn't cry. I was just, all I said was, I repeated myself, repeatedly said the same thing. I don't know why you're taking away my little boy, but thank you. Thank you. And I got there and I thanked them again, and I said goodbye to my boy. And I've yet to say, why did you take him? And God is amazing. God is absolutely amazing. He does things in life that if you're smart enough to know what's going on, you'd be amazed. I have some gifts more than most people. Like my mother was a healer, energy healer, and so am I. And I've healed a lot of people with cancer and MS and by the way, anybody can do it. It's not anybody. I mean, if you learn how to meditate, you can also do healing. It's not that big a deal. And when we got to the hospital, the lady that was with me, a friend of mine from Iran was spending a night with me, and she was really close to Ryan. And when we got to the hospital, she kept going like, aren't you gonna get on your knees and say, I'm not gonna leave this room unless you give me my kid back? And I said, no, because I knew Ryan didn't want to be here. Ryan, ever since he was a baby, the little toddler, he complained about how filthy people were and how dirty and how people lied and cheated. And he wanted to go. Evidently, he didn't want to be here. So I said no, and after a couple of months, I started feeling guilty, like, why didn't I do that? I go across the world, and I go to the little villages to see what I can do for people I don't even know, and I didn't do it for my own child. We're sitting at home one day at 7 o'clock in the morning, and a falcon came to my house, sitting right behind my door. Falcon is I don't know if, I didn't know anything about, I didn't even know what it was. They had to tell me it's a falcon. And then the guy that was there, Chris Duval from England, he was there. He's the one who noticed them right behind the door, like he wanted to come in. And he was there for 24 hours. And we went there, we went in front of him, took pictures of him, a film, and he was just sitting there. And a bird came and sat next to him. Dave saw that. He wouldn't even pay attention to the bird. And right at this time, Chris's wife called from London, and he said, you can't believe what we're experiencing, what we're seeing. There's a falcon here. And she said, you don't know what falcon represents? And we said, no. What do they represent? She goes, no, it's evidently it's in the Bible too, that when somebody dies, and if they want to bring a message back from the other side, or if they want to prove a point, God has chosen this bird, which is the fastest bird on the face of this planet. God has chosen it to deliver the message. And evidently it was from Ryan. Either it was Ryan or from Ryan. And I woke up in the morning, and I live in a large home with a half-an-acre lot. And right by the wall, there was a pile of white feathers in one pile. Evidently, he hunted a white pigeon or something, and he left all the white feathers in one pile. I didn't even know what that meant. I had to call people and say, does that mean anything? And they said, yeah, feather represents freedom. and white represents angels. And evidently he was trying to relay a message that, Dad, don't worry about me. I'm flying in the skies and I'm having fun and I'm having a great old time, you know? That's why it is necessary for us to have that, to be comfortable in my own skin. By the way, I don't have the time. Oh, there's one right there. What time did I start? What time did I just start? It was on time? Okay. Okay. Keep going? Okay. So the greatest indication that there is a God is our own creation, that we come from absolutely nothingness to this beautiful, magnificent, good-looking people sitting around here. So there is a God, which is undeniable. Everything that breathes, everything that grows has to come from that spirit. Otherwise, if you leave this bottle of water here, come back 80 years from now, this bottle of water is going to be here the same way. It's not going to grow 1 inch. It's not going to shrink 1 inch, okay? So there is God. And then in step 3, he starts talking about what do we need to do in order to remain one with his will and my will, you know? And this is where most people, like every morning, the first 10 years of my sobriety, 9 years of my sobriety, because I didn't understand the concept. I didn't know what I was supposed to do. And if you read the pages 60 to 63, it explains everything. Like he says, don't gossip, don't criticize, don't try to control people, you know? When you're in the middle of a bunch of people, alcoholics and drug addicts, and you get calls every day, and people call you with their children, problematic children with heroin and crystal and booze and pills nowadays, and you tell them to just don't get involved. Just leave it up to God. Change the. If he's stealing from you, don't let him in the house. Oh no, I can't do that to my child. I can't do that to my child. And a year later, I get a call from him, and this is a child who went to probably 30 different treatment centers, 50,000, 30,000, and came back. 2 days later, he's drinking, he's shooting dope, he's taking pills, and this last time he went to a $30,000 one, and he came back out, and he went home, and he sent his parents a picture, a little clip of him taking shots because it was his birthday, and he went home with his girlfriend and said he wanted to get fresh with his girl, and the girl said, no, not till you get sober. And he said, if you leave, I'm going to commit suicide. And he shot himself, and he missed his brain by like a couple of millimeters. And he remained alive. He didn't die. And they've had 30-some operations on him, you know. And all they had to do was just leave him out, lock him out. The control that we seem to think we have is nothing but a delusion. I don't have control over your life. I don't even have control over my life, let alone yours, to want to tell you what to do and get pissed off if you don't do what I tell you to do, you know? So this whole thing, this whole 12-step has been for me a journey to go from here to here, okay? So when I get to step 4, I make a list of all my resentments, all my fears, because with all these resentments and all these fears and all these sexual inadequacies, sexual failures that I've had in my life. I mean, I'm 73 years old and I'm single. So imagine how successful I've been with dating compartment. You know, I see people, we've been married 50-some years, and we're like, wow, man, how the heck do you guys do it? The best I can do is maybe 15, 16 years, and I'm done. I gotta go. How do they do it? You know, 50, 60 years together, and it's commendable. You know, maybe we can learn from them. But I made a list of all of that to be able to get rid of this, all these resentments and all these fears, in order to feel the nearness of God within me. You know, and step 6 and 7 again shed more lights that AA, and you hear this again, you hear this, just go to meeting and everything is gonna be okay. It's not. Meetings are wonderful. I love meetings. I still do 5, 6, 7 meetings a week. Most of them online because it's mostly overseas. But I do my meetings, okay? And but they're not a treatment for my alcoholism. I have to go through the 12 steps of AA, and if you read the 12 by 12 in step 6, he's very, very adamant about the 7 deadly sins. And the 7 deadly sins are, what are they? They're ego, they're greed, they're laziness, which, where do I sign up when it comes to laziness? We all want to be Mr. Universe. I just don't want to have to go to the gym, you know? I want to be a doctor. I just don't want to have to go to college for it. You know, overeating, gluttony, lust, envy, all of that combined keeps me away from experiencing the sunlight of the spirit, like Tim was talking about. I'm not going to experience that unless I do a total package. God has created, this is the kingdom of God. So I need to take care of this. I need to eat properly. I'm 73 years of age. I was telling my buddy Rudy that I get up at 1:30 every night. 1:30, between 1:30 and 2, there's 2 of us, nutcases. We meet at LVAC on Sahara. We do our lifting. We do our. I do a couple of Pilates a week, and hey, I gotta keep this. I gotta make sure this ticks. You know, I gotta go back. I got work to do in Iran yet. You know, it's only been 22 years, 23 years, you know? So I gotta keep this healthy, and I eat very healthy, and I don't overeat, and I watch myself, I watch my habits. You know, people don't talk about that. I was listening to a Christian radio this morning, and I'm not Christian, I'm not talking about Christianity. I just happened to turn on the radio, and it was on a Christian station, and the guy was talking about that most pastors don't talk about gluttony because the pastors themselves, they're mostly overweight, so they can't talk about it, you know. And he's right, you know. If you want to be one with God, you got to buy the whole package, and the whole package is mind, body, and spirit. If my disease is mind, body, and spirit, then I got to treat the whole thing. It's not just going to meetings. It's going to meetings, it's eating healthy, eating properly, and also exercising, okay? To make sure that I'm healthy, to make sure that I keep this line open with this magnificent force that we call God, okay? And of course, the main thing is step 8 and 9 again. Everything in the steps is about oneness with God, because I can't be one with God unless I'm one with you. Because the same energy, the same sense, the same frequency that is within me is within you. So how can I claim to be a man of God if I have a resentment with you, if I have anger with you? So I've had to go face some people, really, really hard stuff. Like back in 1980, 81 or something, one of my best friends, the guy who stood next to me as my best friend in my first wedding, he rented a car for me in Reno to go to California or Sacramento to get some stuff and come back, some narcotics, and sell it and become multimillionaire again. And I get there, and they wouldn't give me anything because I wanted to get it for front, you know, didn't have any money. So I was doing burglary with this rental car. On the 3rd day, the guy said, "That's a nice car. Where did you get it?" I said, "It's rental." He goes, "You want to sell it?" Why not, if the price is right? The car that my best friend had rented for me, I sold it to a guy, okay? I never saw the guy till I was 8.5 years sober. So the same, Anthony's mom called me up and she goes, "I was in Reno, I ran into Maury, he's in a sad shape. You gotta call him." So for 3 days, I sat on it, and maybe he's sleeping, maybe he's at work. So on the 3rd day, I got on my knees and I said, "God, please, if I don't do this, I'm gonna drink." So I called him and I said, I got to come and see you. He said, no, I'm coming down to see you. So he came down here. And when you're ready to make your demands, God will provide you with opportunity. He became paralyzed from waist down. And for 2 years, my kid and I were taking care of him. Of course, I bought a house for him. I put down $10,000 and I made his payment for 2 years. But he never told me what happened with that rental car. And also, was it 16 years sober, 20 years sober, I found out that I had a son that I didn't know about. I did a year in county jail from 83 to 84, and I was a trustee in the kitchen, and my supervisor, she started smiling at me. She was really not my type, but I knew I was going to get out in June, and when you're homeless, types don't really matter. So I smiled back, and I got out on June 26th. She came and picked me up. We went home and on the way home, we had a bottle of wine and some steak or lobster or something. And one of these bottles of wine, evidently she got pregnant. And I started looking for her the day I got sober. I swore to the first year, I started looking for her every year with Joe Sino. And Joe knew both of us because Joe was my officer when I did time. That's why Joe tells people he knew Mehdi when he was a criminal before he became a saint. So, and every year he made his calls, and when he didn't find him, he goes, Mehdi, just leave it alone, it's not time yet. And I was out on a date with my yoga instructor in Pittsburgh. And this girl was really smart. She got her MBA from Pittsburgh University, Carnegie Mellon. And a guy called me up. And by this time, I was already on the circuit doing a lot of speaking all over the world. And he was in the same boat looking for somebody he couldn't find. And she said, nowadays, you can't find somebody? When we get back to the hotel, I'll find them for you. So we get back to the hotel, and she looked up at me, and she goes, Mehdi, you have another son. And the time just froze, like, oh, shit, what do you do now? If it's her son, I haven't seen her in 20 years. It's not a little boy that you can give him a knucklehead. You know, you can't go throw balls with them, you know? I mean, he's an adult. So about 6 months after that, and I called her the following day, Sarah, I'm just calling to say what I need to do to make amends. And she goes, nothing, just stay the hell away from us. We don't want to see you. I said, I dummied up. I said, she goes, I had your son. Where is he? None of your business. She goes, I told him you're dead. And she had told him that your dad is dead. And the 4 children that I have now in my house, my grandchildren, are his kids. Yeah. He came into my life, yeah. His wife, Facebook didn't exist at the time. It was MySpace, if you remember, before Facebook, yeah. She found his wife, he met somebody in the boot camp, and they got married, and they were deployed to Alaska. And she found my other son, the doctor, and she called him and she said, I think we're married because we, like you, have a weird last name, you know? And he said, yeah, but our dad is a great dad, and you guys are missing out. So he showed up at my house with the wife and a 6-month-old baby girl. And God would have it, God gave them the second child, and they got deployed to Iraq. And I kept the babies for a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old, and I had them for a year. Then I talk about making amends. I mean, this is making amends, not just going and saying, I'm sorry. You know, I mean, on Sunday afternoons, I was looking for 4 feet of rope. You know, when you have a 2-year-old and they constantly ask, Grandpa, you know, you want to kill yourself, you know, but it was fun, and it had to be done. It had to be done, and I'm so grateful for everything that has happened to me in my life. AA is one heck of a journey, okay? Do not shortchange yourself. Do not settle for going to meetings, the groups of 5 on the outside, gossiping about the other group of 6, okay? Because that's basically it. you won't get nowhere. You won't get nowhere. I swear to you, I promise you one thing. You bring this force into your life, you will be amazed. You will be amazed the stuff that is going to happen to you, especially you youngsters. I'm talking to you guys. These old guys we're done. We're waiting for numbers to be called. We're in line, waiting. Hey, Mehdi, yeah. Come on. You're going home tonight. I'm mainly talking to you guys. I swear to God, do not shortchange yourself. And step 11 is very clear that says, sought through prayer and, not or, and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood it. Praying only for the knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out, okay? But in order to know what His knowledge is, I have to be hooked up with Him, which in order to hook up with Him, I have to meditate. We have to meditate. And I swear to you, I take people to my home. I welcome them to my home, Dave and I, and they come and they do meditation. Oh my God, Mehdi, if you can bottle this up, we'll be millionaires in a day, because it's like 2,000 AA meetings in 1 hour, and it is. It's really powerful to feel the presence of God within you, and you feel like you're in a cocoon wrapped up with this magnificent force. It's amazing. It's amazing. And okay, when do you do it next? Tuesday night. You never see him again. And I don't fault him. I mean, because we're used to the three-dimensional world. We're used to making $5 an hour, $10 an hour, get the second job to be able to have a dinner once a month with your spouse, because it's written in your destiny to be poor for the rest of your life, and it's a bunch of crap. It's a bunch of crap. If you do meditation, you can manifest just about anything you desire to have in your life. In fact, I started talking about, if we have come from wholeness, then why do we feel empty? And what happens? What happens is this: by the time I'm 6 or 7, 8 years old, I'm looking around and I'm comparing my inside with everybody else's outside. And I see his father being richer than mine, so I feel a little less than, a little shorter than, little smaller than, little poorer than. You know what I'm saying? And eventually, what happens? I come up with this plan that is called ego. And ego is this: ego has 6 compartments. I am what I have, okay, which most people, when you talk to them, the minute you say hello, they want to make sure you know how much they're worth, how much money they have, where do they live, and how big a house they have on the hill. I am what I do. They want to make sure that you know where they live, especially in the third world countries. They exaggerate everything tenfold, you know. I am my reputation. The minute you meet them, they all want to tell you how famous they are, how powerful they are. They graduated from such and such a university. The fourth one is, I'm separate from you, which is another lie. The separation between you and I is nothing but a delusion. We're all one. We've all come from this wholeness. And one of the reasons AA works is because we recreate the wholeness when we gather up. All these little tiny pieces of wholeness, all these little freckles of God becomes a flame halfway through the meeting. But the problem with that is you get down the road and your phone rings and it's your ex-husband saying, I'm not going to give you the kids this week because I'm taking them to my mom. And all of a sudden, all that spirituality is out the door. That's why you need to have the presence of God in your life and not just the meetings, okay? The next one is, we seem to think we're separate from everything we desire to have in life, which again is a lie. Anything you desire to have is a part of you. If you become one with this magnificent force, you become, excuse me, if you become one with this magnificent force, then your mind opens up. Your brain is a lot more powerful than you know, okay? Then you start coming up with plans. This and the antenna in your head, which is called pineal gland, they hook up, they connect. And from there, from here, it goes to here. From here, it goes to the universe. And the universe responds. And you get whatever you desire to have. If it's a good-looking husband, if it's a good-looking wife, if it's a nice home, if it's a nice business. Dude, I came from homelessness. I should not be living in a home that I live in. I should not have what I have. But I have everything because of one and one reason only, is because I've become one with it. That's why I keep insisting, reiterating, repeating myself over and over and over again. It's all about creating that sense of oneness with God. Don't let it get away from you. And you know what? He loves you beyond your wildest dreams. Despite what you've been told all your life, that be careful because he is out to get you and he is out to teach you a lesson because you did this and you did that. He just loves you. He just, regardless of where you came from, regardless of what you've done. I don't think you've done half the shit as I have. I don't care what you've done. They know. These guys know about my story, my life. And everything I say is, they can confirm it with somebody who has been in my life, like Anthony's mother, who almost got blown up by mafia, by Colombian mafia, because they gave me some stuff to sell, and I did, and I didn't give them their money, so they came to the bank she worked, and they installed a bomb under her van, you know? I came from that world to this world, okay? That's why I insist, every place I talk about how important, how crucial, how necessary. It's not an option to maybe let me think about it. We have to have the presence of God in our lives. And the funny thing about it, all you gotta do is just come here, please. And you will see things that'll blow your mind. I swear to God. Stuff happens to you that'll blow your mind. Anyhow, and then the final step is step 12, which is once I create that awakening, then I'm supposed to take his message to other people and be an example, not just go and get sponsees, but be an shining example of any community that I join, okay? And I've done plenty of that. I've taken this message to places where no man had gone before, you know, and I think I've done a decent job by starting AA in a country where they don't even sell alcohol. You know, and in the beginning, everybody told me, oh, they're going to put you in jail. I said, either God is or he's not. If God is, let's see what happens. And AA is doing well in Iran, and I happen to have been a part of that, and forever I'm grateful. And I'll tell you something. There was a guy who was jogging on the beach, and he sees this little boy. He's taking the starfish out of from the shore, throwing him back in the water. And a guy jogging says, "Oh, you think you can save all of them?" He goes, "No, but I know I can save one, this one, okay?" And you and I basically, that's the story of our life. Okay, I can't save everyone, but I can save at least one. Okay, and the way it's done is this: if you look at the geese when they go from north to south in the winter, they fly in a V formation. Do you know why they fly in a V formation? I didn't know. Because the one in the front, the one that is right at the point, he has the hardest time because of the aerodynamic of doing their wings, you know, flipping their wings. He has the hardest time, but what they do is they change places. The first guy comes to second, third, fourth, fifth, and if one of them gets sick or gets shot and goes down, another two goes down with it. And once that one is healed, they get up and they start forming another V formation. And AA is basically the same way. You know, we're the guys in the front, like me, starting AA in Iran. I was the first guy, first goose that was difficult. Bill Wilson and Dr. Bob, they dedicated their lives to start this. And I'm telling you, when you deal with people and their egos, it's not an easy thing to do. I have stories to tell you in Iran. I swear to God, and I went there, I hadn't been to Iran. I grew up here. You know, I was 22 when I came here. I'm 73 now. I've lived here most of my life. And when I went there, I wasn't really familiar with the customs and culture, and I had to relearn all of that, and at the same time teach them about AA. And I had the hardest time, but you know, I was the first guy, and now I'm the second and third. Now I'm at the end of the line, but we do it one day at a time, and we get it going. Thank you so much for asking me, sir.